Shwmae a chroeso I Sgwrs, podlediad Consortiwm Canolbarth y De. Yn y podlediad hwn byddwch chi'n clywed y trafodaethau diweddara am bob math o bethau addysg. Hello and welcome to Sgwrs, the Central South Consortium podcast. In this podcast we'll bring you the very latest discussions on all things education.
Croeso and welcome to another podcast by the LLC Welsh and English Medium team from the Central South Consortium. My name is Matthias Maurer and with me today are two teachers from Dolau Primary School, Jess Simmons and Eve Thomas. Shwmae Jess.
Shwmae Matthias.
And Shwmae Eve.
Shwmae.
Dolau is a dual-stream primary school in Llanharan with a Welsh medium and an English medium stream. Jess and Eve both teach in the English medium stream. Resources for upskilling our English medium primary teachers so they become effective teachers of Welsh are limited. This makes it all the more important that those teachers who have benefited from the excellent training that's available make an impact beyond their own classroom once they are back in school. Jess Simmons is a Welsh Sabbatical alumni who has done just that. She used the pedagogical skills and knowledge she had acquired on the course to upskill colleagues and contribute to the strategic and sustainable development of effective pedagogy for Welsh across the school. And Eve is one of the non-specialist colleagues of Jess that she has supported in school. Eve has joined us today to talk about the way Jess supported her and how this has affected her personal approach to the teaching and learning of Welsh and ultimately how it has affected the young learners in her classroom. Thank you for joining us today. Jess, would you like to introduce yourself?
So, hi, I'm Jess, and I work in year 3 and 4 currently. I have been working in Dolau for the last 11 years.
Hi, my name is Eve Thomas. I'm a year 5, year 6 teacher in Dolau Primary School, and I've been here for 6 years.
Right, so Eve, staying with you, could you talk a little bit about your personal Welsh story? Do you speak Welsh or are you learning Welsh at the moment? And what training have you had so far, both for speaking Welsh but also for Welsh pedagogy?
Yeah, so my knowledge and understanding of the Welsh language, I have up to GCSE level Welsh. I haven't progressed with the Welsh language further than that, other than my PGC studies and then more recently, obviously, teaching Welsh within Dolau Primary School. Having been placed here in a bilingual school is obviously has its advantages. I have in the past attended a course, I think it was a morning or an afternoon course with a CSC, but other than that, it's just sort of what I have self-taught and sort of been taken on from my peers in more recent years, but nothing beyond GCSE level.
Thank you. It'll be very interesting to hear later on how Jess's support has helped you as well, because I think you are in the situation most, if not the vast majority of our teachers are in, that you are teaching the Welsh with not being a fluent speaker, but still making a real impact. So we get to that. Jess, thank you for taking the time. Could you maybe talk about the training you received on the Welsh Sabbatical course? You could begin by talking about your baseline when you started the course and what you acquired and how you left it.
Yeah, so prior to going on the sabbatical, I'd studied Welsh up until A level. However, I noticed when I was in school that I was lacking confidence in speaking, and I understood most conversations. And when looking at the work of the children in the Welsh and English department, I didn't always fully understand what they were writing about. So I then went on the sabbatical, and I had the most amazing year. Developing my own knowledge of the Welsh language, and alongside that, I think some of the most important things I took away from it was developing my methodology and pedagogical understanding. So yeah, the course really helped me develop massively, and I'm currently still going to Welsh sessions every Tuesday night. So I'm doing Uwch Dau at the moment, just to try and maintain some level of fluency. Whilst not on the sabbatical anymore.
Da iawn, bendigedig chi. It's good to hear and reiterate that, isn't it, that the course is not just about learning to speak Welsh, but also about very effective pedagogy that then transfers back into school. And it's also, congratulations, llongyfarchiadau, to hear that you're still carrying on to learn the language and improve. That's really good news, I think. Jess, could you talk about, once you returned to school, how you implemented what you had learned on the course, maybe first in your classroom, but then also across the wider school?
Yeah, so once I returned off the sabbatical, the management team had noticed that this was something that we needed to work on. So at first, I started by holding a training session with staff where we just looked at some basic drilling games that they could implement into their classroom. This was really beneficial because it helped to develop not only the children's confidence in Welsh and they were then seeking enjoyment in Welsh sessions because they enjoyed the games and they were fun. But I had teachers coming back to me and saying, oh, my Welsh lesson was brilliant the other day. I really enjoyed teaching it, which is massive because I know for a lot of people, teaching Welsh is scary. And I think because there was a bank of resources there and that we played them together, they were familiar to them and they felt more comfortable in implementing them in the classroom and using them to help the children revisit and learn new language patterns.
Oh, yeah, that sounds really helpful. At this point, maybe I'd just like to raise that there might be a temptation, if you have a teacher returning from the sabbatical scheme, to think you now have the expert and you might take, so the Welsh will develop with that teacher automatically. However, I think you took a different approach in your school, didn't you? You, after your return, put the Welsh and I think just the drilling on the school improvement plan. Could you talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, so Welsh oracy was placed on the development plan for both the English and the Welsh department. Because the management team saw that the strategies being used would work for both both departments. So everybody had to have that Welsh oracy as one of their performance management targets, and that's something we worked on over the year. So I initially provided that training, and it snowballed from there really. So we did some monitoring as well at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, and also this meant at the end of the year all our resources were brought together. So we've got a massive bank of resources out there, which is really important. And listening to learners also fed at the beginning of the year, fed into what we need, where the gaps were and how we needed to move forward too.
From what you're saying, I gather that leadership were quite involved in the whole process and very supportive. Could you summarize the aspects in which your leaders, your head teacher and senior leadership supported you the most? What was the most helpful to help you enact that change?
Yeah, I think initially it was them seeing the importance of it and valuing the importance of Welsh and developing that and understanding how much it links to the curriculum and how important bilingualism is for the future. Also, I was really fortunate that they provided me with the time in order to develop resources to share with staff. So that was really beneficial, and obviously making it of an importance that we did listening to learners and monitoring on a regular basis.
Excellent. Moving on, embedding sustainable change is a challenge at the best of times, isn't it? And it certainly is for a subject like Welsh, where we have such a variety of skill sets among our teachers, ranging from fluent speakers or good learners to those who might not yet have had the opportunity to develop their Welsh language skills the way they would like to. In a previous conversation, Jess, you have mentioned the importance of high quality resources and modeling these to staff. And it would be really good to hear first of you how you provide this, and then to hear from your side, Eve, how that helped you then. Definitely. So Jess, yeah.
So as I just said, that we use staff meetings in order to share the resources, and then staff obviously had opportunities then. They needed to go off and make their own resources. So it was personal to them, personal to their class. And then they would come back to me if they needed any help or support. We're also really fortunate we have other Welsh speakers within the school and the Welsh department that they could go to as well. And also at that time, Eve and I were in the same planning group and we had the same year group. So we planned our resources together, which was really useful and really beneficial. And then now Eve is completely independent. So I don't do anything or support her in any way other than having to check mutations from time to time.
Could you talk about this, Eve, about that process where initially you worked together and collaborated? That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so initially, as just mentioned, that we were in the same planning group. I had a mixed year group, so again, progression, and I had to build upon what Jess had previously planned. But again, through the initial modelling, I then would develop my own resources using the same structure, whether that was Welsh running games, whether that was a sentence builder, or whatever the resource may have been at the time, just to engage that then and use that within my own classroom. From that, then I could see what and how the children responded to the particular games, whether that was mind reader, whether that was sentence puzzle, or the other games that we sort of had created. And then I used and applied those and changed them accordingly, depending on how my class responded. So at the time, my class preferred a certain game, so therefore then as we would move on through the themes and the topics, I would then sort of continue to use and listen to the learners, so you've got that engagement from the children, and then I was able to develop the resources further then, and so you're not introducing new games, so you're revisiting the same game, but then adapting that then to new sentence patterns across the curriculum then. And the children's enthusiasm just excelled from there then and snowballed. And at the end then we was following the structure of the children listen, modelling that to the children. Their confidence in speaking then also progressed. They were then able to read from the board, from the activities, so the reading of Welsh progressed, and then that led into the writing then, provided opportunities for reading comprehensions again, which were initially modelled, but then over the course of the year, these were adapted to the class, to the needs of the learner, and then I became more independent as the year progressed, where I initially did need the help and support of Jess just to proofread my work, whether it was mutations or just the grammar within the Welsh language then, is what I heavily relied on at the beginning.
Yeah, that sounds really, really effective, and congratulations. It's very good to hear that initially you had this high amount of support and then you gradually made your independence from that. I think it would be really interesting for teachers listening to you, just to understand now, in the position you are now in, Eve, having gone through this process, if you prepare a new topic, how do you plan, how do you resource that? What's available, what do you make yourself, and how do you work together as a team across school for that?
Yeah, definitely. So as Jess mentioned, we were in the previously in the same planning group. So I've moved away now. I'm year 5 and year 6 at the moment. So I've developed my own confidence and independence with planning, because again, you're following the same structure but adapting the language patterns within that, and I can now use the new continuum, so following and building upon previous knowledge there, and to use and adapt the initial training and the resources I've built and created over the years, and I can now use them independently within the planning group. More recently as well, I've had student teachers, and I'm now the one that those students come to, so I'm now modelling and setting the level of expectations for those students, which maybe before Jess went on the sabbatical, I don't think I would have been in that position. So the confidence and the development of my own knowledge and understanding and the use of the Welsh language has helped massively. So I'm now able to share my knowledge and understanding with people within my current planning group and with students as well at the moment. And I'm teaching within the context that the children understand as well, so making sure it's stage and age appropriate for them and not just choosing random patterns that I think would work. It's listening and understanding to and knowing where the children are and what needs to be built upon.
That's brilliant to hear. You're really like the second generation leader now. You are cascading not just the Welsh language and the pedagogy, but the leadership skills across as well. So you now help colleagues and support them. I hope both. You both mentioned resources and adapting resources. And I just wanted to come back to that because in the previous conversation, I think, Jess, you mentioned there is a wide range of teaching activities you have templates for and you have shown and modeled with your colleagues. And then even I found it very interesting. You said, oh, yes, and we have real favorites in our class. We don't do all of them all the time. Could you expand about that and just mention briefly what activities from the ones Jess has modeled for you, your children like particularly, and why that might be?
Yeah, definitely. So the range of resources were initially provided and supplied by Jess, and they were modelled to us. So then we adapted those to the sentence patterns that we were currently using in our class. From then, you can obviously listen, engage with with your children in the class. Trial new games, new structures within the class, and naturally you will see that your children in your class prefer certain games. So then you obviously listen to the learners and build upon the games that they engage more with. So again, it's listen to the advice from my peers and then the children, and you just need to give it a go. In all honesty, just don't be afraid to try a new game, try a new approach, because I'm learning as well as the children at the time. So and it has a positive outcome in the end, as nervous-wracking as it could be initially. It will have a positive impact. So again, it's just building resources and developing that and listening to the children, really. And then over time, you can implement a different game. And again, as your classes change, you may realise that the following year, different games suit the other learners. So again, it's developing that bank, developing the resources to meet the needs of the learner, and then having the confidence to develop these. And now I use Welsh bingo boards within reading sessions to develop the Welsh language further and outside your Welsh drilling and your Welsh lessons, just to obviously develop the Welsh language in as many areas of the curriculum as possible.
I really like that. You just need to give it a go to start with, but also then to take time to develop that together with your learners. And that's a theme. I work with a number of schools, of course, that keeps coming back, that our learners are really very generous when they realize we are learners of Welsh as well. And we develop these pedagogies, these games together. There's quite a positive dynamic in the classroom, isn't there, when you start having fun together, learning together, developing that, teachers and children together. And that's really where we want to be.
Yeah, definitely. And we introduce it as a game, so they don't see it as I'm learning. They think they're having fun. So using games has had a really positive impact, because you've got the engagement accelerating straight away.
Yeah, diolch. Both of you, maybe starting with Jess, would you have top tips for schools where teachers return from specialist training, like the sabbatical scheme, for example, how they can best benefit from the skills and knowledge these people bring back to their schools?
Yeah, I think the main thing, is the first thing you need to do is get the support from your senior management team, and ask for those opportunities, even if it's 5 minutes at the start of a staff meeting, to share best practice. It's going to make everyone's life easier in the long run, sharing all this stuff, and everyone's going to love you for it. So I think, yeah, getting buy-in from your senior management team, sharing practice, and just like we are now, revisiting resources and resharing things out as your staff turnover changes. You're going to have to revisit from time to time, and give people some more ideas of different ways in which they can implement things in the classroom and how they can take those patterns across the curriculum after they've learned within the context.
Thank you, Jess. And maybe Eve, from your point of view, the ways Jess supported you on the way back, was there something that stood out that helped you make a start and gave you that confidence to keep going?
Definitely. So it's just listen to advice. So take on the comments, to take on the strategies and approaches that are being shared by the leaders or by Jess in my instance, and just give it a go. Like, don't be afraid to try new approaches and new drilling approaches then again, and just receive support. If at the time I needed and initially I needed Jess there just for my own confidence and reassurance, just to double check, am I on the right track? Does this look right? Is my grammar correct? Have I included the correct mutations? So be open to guidance, receive advice, and have the right people around you, because taking that approach, you're going to have a positive impact, and it's only going to potentially go in a positive direction. So just give things a go, and if you've got a good team around you, only positive things can happen.
Well, diolch o galon to both of you. Only positive things can happen. That's a very good phrase to end the meeting. Thank you for taking the time to share your experience with us. It's been really interesting to hear how, as a school, you have managed to develop the teaching and learning of Welsh. How you, Jess, have been supported by your leadership to use what you've learned in the Welsh Sabbatical course to support your colleagues, but also to hear from you, Eve, how you have benefited from this approach to the point where now you are supporting colleagues and further developing the Welsh across school. Lovely hearing from you.
Diolch am wrando ar y benod hon o Sgwrs. Cofiwch ein dilyn ar Twitter a Facebook, tanysgrifio ein sianel YouTube, ymuno yn cymunedau ar ein gwefan a darllen ein bwletin ysgolion wythnosol am y newyddion diweddaraf. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sgwrs. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, join our online communities via our website, and read our weekly school bulletin for the latest news. Hwyl am y tro. Bye for now.